The second Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer released at PlayStation Experience the other day, and this game is such a big deal that I need to briefly halt my progress on another project I have in the works and talk about this trailer. I'm a big proponent of remaking Final Fantasy VII, and just remaking other games in general. I like the idea of attempting to fix mistakes from the original and making it more easily accessible for new players. Final Fantasy VII in particular, where people generally seem to remember the game's story, the characters, and the cinematics, is well suited for a remake because the gameplay can be altered to the preferences of the general contemporary gamer and still keep a lot of what people initially liked about it. I didn't grow up with Final Fantasy VII. If I did, it'd probably be like my favorite game. And while I enjoyed the game, I wasn't blown away by it like the folks in 1997 were. I have a lot of respect for its historical impact on video games, though. You know, it pioneered cinematic visuals and intricate storytelling in games. But anyway, this trailer is pretty epic. The character designs and environments look really neat, but the most interesting thing about it is they showed off some gameplay, which I assume is pre-rendered because it wouldn't make sense for there to be that much progress on the game. I don't care if this game has turn-based or real-time combat, but going with real-time is probably the right call because that's the preference of most contemporary gamers, and 99% of the people clamoring for turn-based combat played and enjoyed the original, and the original's not going anywhere, so they can just play that or the variety of ports if they want to play the turn-based version of Final Fantasy VII. The battle system looks a lot like Kingdom Hearts, but it still has some features from the original game, like the limit break gauge and what looks like the remix version of the ATB gauge. From the footage, the ATB gauge functions more like a stamina bar, because Cloud could slash his sword without a fully charged ATB gauge, but an amount of the ATB that has been recharged, some of that is used in order to execute Cloud's attack. I don't know if it's just me, but the visual qualities in the cutscenes don't look as realistic as the first trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the Final Fantasy XV trailers. This makes me wonder if some of those scenes are recordings of in-engine cutscenes, or at least pre-rendered to look like they're in-engine. That being said, it doesn't bother me that it doesn't look as realistic, because they're still great graphics, even if they aren't like the best graphics I've ever seen. I may revisit this topic at some other time, and make a video about the changes I'd like to see in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but off the top of my head, I'd like to see Yuffie and Vincent integrated into the main plot more. In the original, they're both additional characters, and their actions don't have any effect on the main plot. During story scenes, other characters don't really respond to what they say, so they basically give like a sentence or two of commentary that's just ignored. Which is too bad because they're cool, so I wish that improvement is made in the remake. The director of this game is working on Kingdom Hearts 3 right now, and I'm curious about the stage of production the Final Fantasy VII Remake is in because of Nomura's crowded scheduling. I assume it's still in pre-production now, and I don't know when it'll go into full production. Hopefully Nomura can focus on completing Kingdom Hearts 3 and getting that into at least post-production before starting on full production for Final Fantasy VII. This probably isn't completely Nomura's decision to make, so hopefully his executive bosses will allow this. Right now I'm thinking the game will release in 2018 or 2019 because from the progress that some of Square Enix's other AAA JRPG projects are in, it looks like we'll get Final Fantasy XV in 2016, probably Kingdom Hearts 3 in 2017, and then the 7 remake will probably be ready in 2018 or 2019. Nomura said in an interview, which I'll leave a link in the description, but he said that he's busy until 2019. I don't know if that means the Final Fantasy VII Remake will take him that long, or if there's other stuff to do, but in any case the game's a ways off. I guess Square is telling us about it this early to create hype for the Final Fantasy franchise. I mean, developers would be under less public scrutiny if they made more substantial progress on the game before announcing it, but the hype for a Final Fantasy VII Remake should get people aware of the Final Fantasy series and help sell the 7 ports and 15 when it comes out. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the trailer and the remake, so thanks for listening.